Don't be afraid. Not just
Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to Unusual, Difficult, and Dangerous Approaches. I think that's what we named it. I can't remember, it's been a long time since we've done any of these. But that's okay. Today we're going to do something a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We are going to do a very difficult approach, it's very unusual, and it's quite dangerous, so it really hits all of them there. But we are going to be flying this approach today. And then right behind us is going to be the CEO of MacAir, Joe, my friend Joe. So Joe and I are both going to fly the approach today. We've actually taken a couple practice runs at it. It is no joke. We are going to be flying into Toncontin International Airport, which is in Tegu. Yeah, I'm not even going to try and say that. It's in Honduras. It's in Honduras. Many of you have probably seen this approach over the years pop up on YouTube. It's usually when you see it pop up, it's a 757 you see flying it. And we'd love to do that, but we just don't have a good 757 for the sim. We all know that. So we're going to be flying it in the PMDG 737-700 today. We will... when I brief the approach, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Joe is going to introduce himself when we get to the hold point at Melville. I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. And then I'm going to fly the approach, and once I get started, a few miles into it, then Joe's going to exit the hold, and he's going to fly the approach behind me, and we're going to have a good time with it. Now, I'm actually recording the introduction after the fact here. And so what you're going to see, there's going to be a couple of cinematics because I love to do those anyway, and I hope you guys enjoy them because they're a lot of work. You're going to see a couple cinematics. You're going to see me in the American Airlines 737 here, and you're going to see Joe in a Southwest Airlines 737. However, when we're sitting on the flight deck and Joe lands later in the video and we're watching him land, it's going to be in an Alaska Airlines cargo 737. I have no idea why, because when he started out here where we're at right now, which is MHLM, when we started here, Joe was in a Southwest Airlines 737. For some reason, it changed his aircraft. So right now, we're in San Pedro Sula in Honduras, about 120 nautical miles from Toncontin. And we just decided to start over here, and we're going to fly on over. Now, the weather looks a little shaky, but trust me, it's fine. We've done it a couple times just for practice, and we needed it. Let me tell you, we needed it. I think Joe did a better job than me, but overall, it was a lot of fun. So, with all of that said, we're not going to do our normal startup procedure. You're not going to see all of that stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to have a really detailed look at the approach, and then we're going to come back on. When we come back on, we'll be in the hold and ready to start flying the approach. So, with that said, let's jump over to whatever. It's going to be Sim Toolkit Pro. Let's call it our iPad. But let's take a look at this approach briefing and see what all is required. Alrighty, so using our Sim Toolkit Pro here, and obviously using Navigraph charts with Sim Toolkit Pro, we can get a look at the approach that we're going to be flying today. So the RNP Runway 2 approach. Now it shows up as the RNV Victor approach in the FMC. I think maybe the terminology's changed. I'm not 100% certain. But it does does happen to be that this is the preferred approach into this airport, believe it or not, and it's a tough one to fly. So let's start out with the basics here. ATIS is on 127.75, Tongue Continent approach on 19.1. That's the word I can't say, but controls on 26.7, and then tower on 18.7, ground on 21.9. That's all the good stuff. Now it's an RNAV approach with a final approach course of 20 degrees. And at TG014, that's basically our final approach fix, we're going to be at 6,776 feet, which is 3488 AGL. And then the required navigation performance is 0.3 nautical miles. That's left or right. 0.3 nautical miles left or right is the required navigation performance. It means you can't stray left or right more than 0.3 of a mile. And the decision altitude is at 1,141 feet above the runway. And you're going to see why that is when we actually get on the approach. Airport elevation is 3,307 feet, and the runway touchdown zone is going to be 3,288 feet. Now for a missed approach, you're going to climb and intercept lateral navigation. I'm not actually sure what that means, but we'll take a look at the visual look at that down here. Maintain RNP track max 175, re-engage LNAV by TG011. So I think what that means by intercept lateral navigation is it means you've got to intercept this lateral LNAV course, and then you need to re-engage LNAV by the time you get to TG011, and we'll show you that here in just a second. There is a climb gradient because obviously there's a lot of mountains in the area. So depending on your ground speed, you have to have a certain you have to climb a certain number of feet per nautical mile. So if your ground speed was 75, it's 325 feet per nautical mile. If your ground speed is 175, it's 759 feet per nautical mile. Now, the 737 doesn't really have a problem, even when it's pretty heavy, meeting those climb gradients, so it shouldn't be a problem. Transition altitude over here is 19,000 feet. It's not going to be an issue for us. It's kind of funny. Transition altitude is 19,000 feet, but transition level is flight level 200. So something to keep in mind there. But it's not going to affect us because we're going to be in the hold at Melville at 9,000 feet when we get ready to start this. Now, there is special aircraft and aircrew authorization required. You have to have radio, RF, and GPS capability are required. There's high terrain in all quadrants. Do not exceed distance limits in the holding pattern. And procedure turn not authorized if temperature is below 14 degrees Celsius or above 52 degrees Celsius. DME is not authorized. VGSI and descent angle not coincident. We've gone over that before. I'm not going to explain that right now. Pilot controlled lighting for runway 2 and 20, meaning that if the tower's closed and the lights are off, you can turn the lights on using your radios. Okay, now let's look at the approach itself. Okay, the basics, it looks for the most part pretty straightforward. The catch really is the end of it here. But let's start out here at Melville. We're going to be on a hold at Melville, and we're setting an inbound course of 247. So we're flying into Melville at 247 degrees and making right turns. That's where we're going to come into the aircraft at. So you'll see we're in that holding pattern when we get there. When we depart the hold from Melville, it's 247 degrees to TG017 and 8,000 feet. Now I'm going to tell you right now, when you set this up in the FMC, it's going to say 8,000 at or above. You need to make these hard altitudes to get this aircraft to get the autopilot to get you where you want to be properly. All right, now I'm going to scroll down so we can see this vertical profile because we're going to need it here. Because from TG017 to TG015, we're going to hold we're going to drop to 7,000 feet. I'm sorry, not going to hold. We're going to drop to 7,000 feet. It's pretty fast. 1,000-foot drop in 4.2 nautical miles. And then as we start our turn towards TG014, we need to drop down to 67.76. Then it's 62.36, 55.99, 44.11, 33.98 by the time we get to TG010. All right, now as we make this turn around here, when we get over here and we're pointed towards TG011, this is a visual approach, okay? And the way that it's going to show up, and you'll see it on the flight deck on the nav display, is from this point right here, TG011. It's going to draw a straight line to the runway right here. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you follow that, you will not be able to land that aircraft. You must fly past TG011 and visually make your turn to the runway. And it's not easy because it's in this little valley and it's hard to see it. You'll see that when we get into the aircraft. Now, what does help out, and I did this, and I think I explained it during the descent as well, or during the approach as well. I tuned the Ton-Content VOR, and then I set the radial on that to 0, or the course on that to 020, and that draws a green line on your nav display straight down that runway. And so you can use that as a reference to help you make that turn there. Okay, your missed approach point is TG011 way back here. So if we don't have a visual on the runway, then we have to go missed approach when we're way back here. Okay, you've got your glide path angle is 3.5 degrees. It's actually more than that. Joe was looking it up, and I don't think he mentioned it on the video, but Joe had looked it up, and from TG011 to the runway, it's like almost 5 degrees, I think he said. Or maybe he said 3.5. I don't remember. Either way, it is a steep approach. I'm going to tell you right now. It's a steep approach, and this turn is no joke. So that's the approach. At face value, it's not that difficult. Okay, but flying it is a whole nother story. And so that's what we're going to go do right now. So that's what your approach looks like. Now we're going to hop into the aircraft. Everything's already set up. We're going to be in the hold, and then we're going to fly the approach, and then Joe's going to follow us. It should be a good time. Alrighty folks, so we are holding here at Melville with our 247 degree inbound course and a right hand turn. The purpose for that is obviously so when we're ready to exit the hold, we can just exit straight across Melville, because that's where it's going to exit the hold from, is wherever your hold point is. And so we want to be able to just shoot straight out from there and on to the approach itself. Now Joe is just about to the hold point as well. He's going to be holding at 11,000 feet. I'm holding at 9,000 feet. And then when I cross waypoint TG014, I'm going to let him know, and he's going to start his approach. So with that in mind, Joe, why don't you take a minute, say hi, introduce yourself to the folks, and take it away.
I appreciate it, Capt and Mac. Hi guys, it's me, Joe. I'm the COO of MacAir. I'm Millennium Aviation. And appreciate Captain Mac in inviting me on to the flight. And I invite everybody who's watching to come check us out, MacAirVirtual.com. Got a little bit of everything for everybody.
Fantastic. Thanks, Joe. Really appreciate it. Joe and I have been friends for a long time. You all know, you're all familiar probably by now with MacAir. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that that's a virtual airline that me and another friend started several years ago. And you know, we parted ways after a while. He's doing his thing, but I continued with the airline, and Joe came on board, and Joe really just started running things at MacAir. So I'm sort of the behind the scenes guy. I'm the, you know, they'll ask me for some input occasionally, but Joe really runs things. He works his tail off over there. He's not the only one either. There's a lot of great folks over there at MacAir that are just doing a lot of great stuff behind the scenes so that airline continues to run smooth. So definitely check it out at MacAirVirtual.com if you guys are interested in something with a little more structure. It's definitely different than all the other virtual airlines out there. Wouldn't you say that, Joe?
Oh yeah, and I think that that's a real a point that we take a lot of pride in. You know, we try to include a little bit of everything that a lot of other airlines kind of focus on, all in one, so that it's a one-stop shop for the virtual pilot.
Yeah, definitely. And then that was the original idea, right? So me and the guy who started originally, Eric, you know, we had flown at several different virtual airlines, and you know, we found that if we wanted to do, say, cargo operations, we had to fly with one virtual airline, and if we wanted to do airline operations, we had to fly with another. And you know, if you flew with this virtual airline, you can only fly these aircraft, and with this one you can only fly those. And so we just saw that as kind of a problem, especially when we started looking at some of the older aircraft. You know, we like to fly like the old Constellation and stuff, and you know, there just weren't routes and stuff available. And so when we started MacAir, that's what we were looking to do, was create a virtual airline that had more inclusion for those who were looking for it. And so we've got the open division, we got the cargo division going there, we've got the professional division if you're one of those who really wants to take your flight sim to the next level, really learn about how to fly the aircraft and how to read charts and all of those sorts of things. And then you take an actual check ride with one of our examiners at the airline to get promoted to the next level. So, and that's one of those things that Joe and the other guys are always doing in the background and always making sure that stuff runs smooth. And so I really appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing over there, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and we do it really for the members. I mean, we have such a core group of dedicated members, and I tend to consider them, you know, extended family. And anything the staff do, we're always engaged with the members and make sure that we're clear and communicating with them what our intent is and things we want to do in the future, things we need to improve on if that's what's necessary. So I highly encourage anybody who hasn't, come check us out, MacAirVirtual.com.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, Joe and I, we've had the opportunity to meet in person too. We're not just online friends like so many folks are these days. Joe and I have met in person when they were moving, and we had an opportunity to sit down and have some breakfast together, and it was fantastic. So now, in the meantime, my aircraft is struggling to hold 9,000 feet for some reason. We're going to go one more time around the hold here, folks, so that I can explain what I got going on. Joe, have you gotten to the hold point yet?
Yes, sir. I'm holding at flight level 110.
Fantastic.
And at a speed of 220.
Sweet. So earlier, Joe and I just took a practice run at this because this is no joke landing at this airport, guys. And I couldn't see Joe. He's 2,000 feet above me, and he's just a little speck. It took forever to find him. I found him eventually, but it was difficult to find him. So, but either way, let's get set up to leave our hold here. There's a couple things we need to do. First of all, I want to get some stuff set up for the landing, and then get stuff set up for the aircraft to fly at least the first half or so of this approach for us. The aircraft will not fly the approach completely. It's a visual approach like we talked about during the briefing. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to put it at 3,000 feet. And the only reason I'm doing that, actually 3,000 is too low, right? The airfield is, what was it, Joe? 3,300 something? 3288. So I'm going to put it at 3,500, and that just means it's going to, if I had to let it continue to descend on the autopilot, that stupid cat meowing back there is obnoxious. If I had to let it continue to descend on the autopilot, I could, it'll descend below that final waypoint just fine. So that sets that up. We are going to be using max auto brake. We do not have a lot of runway to work with here because of this place threshold. We also need to exit our hold. So if you click on hold here, click on exit hold, and then execute, and it's going to arm it. So that's it, it's armed already. So now we have to exit the hold. So you see it starts an immediate turn towards Melvo, and as soon as it crosses Melvo, it's going to exit the hold. The reason that I want to have my altitude set before I do that is because we need to be at 8,000 feet when we get to TG017, which is our next waypoint from Melvo, and so we need the aircraft to start that descent immediately. Now we've got everything set to 200 or 210 knots in the FMC, but we're going to be trying to get the aircraft configured, just about fully configured really by the time we get to TG013. I want to be fully configured, and that's a little earlier probably than we need to be, but this is not an easy approach to fly, and so I'm just not going to take any chances with it. I'm going to make sure we're fully configured so that I can focus on the approach itself. What about you, Joe? You got anything to add to that?
No, sir. I'm pretty much going to do the same thing. I am going to be using the heads-up display, which we kind of talked about a little bit before. I felt that it was kind of a real asset to keep the eyes outside the flight deck and out the windscreen. And I'm also going to be using the vertical profile on the navigation display to make sure that on profile for the approach.
That's this one right here, guys. So you see the little diamond right there, or the little, it's more like an hourglass to be honest with you, but anyway, that's what he's talking about. So that's the vertical profile. You just hit the center button twice right here and that'll bring that up. I don't usually use it. I'm good with this, but I am going to zoom this in a little bit, and you can see we're getting ready to exit the hold here. It still shows that it's armed. That's okay. Once it crosses Melvo, it should, yep, bingo, went away. So approach VREF not selected. I was already expecting that. Hit your initial reference. It's going to be full flaps, 133 knots. So nice and slow. It's not going to feel slow when we're coming in, I promise you. And right now I'm going to go ahead and throw in my first setting of flaps, and we're going to probably need to use our speed brakes to slow us down. That's what we're doing here. Now you guys see this green line right here? You'll see it again as we come around. That is I tuned in the VOR, TNT VOR, and then I put the course at 020, which is the final approach course. There's two reasons I did that. One, it's just a visual reference, but the other is you're going to see when we get close to the approach. If you've never flown this, I'm telling you right now, we did 3 practice runs on it. One was an intentional missed approach, the second one was a touch and go, and then a full stop landing. And on that intentional missed approach, I missed the runway completely because it's really hard to see down there. So that's a nice visual reference that I put there that just kind of, it just extends that center line of the runway out for me so that I can just have a turn reference. Because when we cross, remember when we cross TG011, we're not going to start our turn right there. If we left it on autopilot, it's going to try and turn as soon as we cross TG011. That's not going to work for us. I promise you that. It's not going to work. So let's go ahead and get flaps 2 here. Let me change the view to something useful. That's a little bit better there. A little bit, not great, but a little better. And let me turn the track IR on, a little jump here. There we go. And center it up. And that looks pretty good there. Okay, Joe, I'm almost at TG015. So once I cross 014, I'll let you know, and you can exit the hold. If you're on the out leg of the hold, you can arm it to exit now if you want.
Yeah, 10-4, I actually am on the out leg, so I will have it armed.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Joe's going to be probably in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 miles behind me, so that should work out just fine. And so right now I'm just letting the autopilot fly this profile. I mean, if you really want to crank up the challenge, you can fly this entire approach by hand, which maybe we'll do that another time, but I promise you this is just the short final itself is it's tough. It's tough enough. I think you'll find it more than adequate for your excitement needs. So let's go ahead and get the next setting of flaps in. So going to flaps 5 here, and I'm just working on getting the aircraft slowed down a little bit. We don't really need drag right now, so I'm just going to clear that off. You can also clear it off by just clicking right here. You can see that the flaps are slowing us down plenty on their own. So we're going to go to flaps 10 here. We're about to cross RF002, and at flaps 10, once we cross RF002, I'm going to drop the landing gear, and that's going to give us more drag to finish getting set up.
2500.
So remember, our VREF is 133. See, it's still telling us drag required, right? Drag after TG014. No, I think we'll be fine. Alright, go ahead and drop the landing gear now. Gear's coming down. Throw in the flaps 15 there. Okay, gears down in lock 3 green. Still bringing in the flaps. We got our auto brakes set to max. Engine start selectors are on continuous. Landing lights are on. And we can probably arm the speed brakes now. So we'll do that. Bring in the next setting of flaps. And Joe, I am across TG014. So you're good to go as you exit that hold.
Alright, 10-4, I am 3.5 from Melville and descending to 9,000 to exit the hold.
Perfect. Alright, so as we continue around past TG013 here, we'll go to flaps 30. So the airfield is like right here, but you just can't see it right now. It's just crazy. This is fun. Alright, I'm gonna, as I cross TG012, I'll get fully configured, and then we're going to take it off autopilot and we're going to fly it ourselves. And this is a high rate of descent, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the terrain inhibit, gear inhibit, and flap inhibit all on. And hopefully we won't get all the warnings that we've been getting every time we do this. Alright, let's go full flaps. So again, it's really hard to see. Alright, let's take the autopilot off. My airplane. Auto throttles are still on, and we need to descend a little faster. Alright, auto throttle's coming off. I have full control of the aircraft now, and we're looking good. So you see we're descending about 850 feet per minute. It wants us to descend faster. I'm going to get a little more thrust in there. That should help smooth this out a little bit there. So you see we're almost at TG011, alright, and you can see that the turn on the nav display is immediate. You're not going to make the runway if you do that. I learned that the hard way, by the way. Okay, what we're looking for is a road, and it's this road right here. See that road? We're going to follow it through that turn right in front of that building there. That's what we're going to do. So we're looking pretty good. So what I like to do, what worked out really nicely for me, I'm just watching my speed here, we're looking pretty solid. What worked out really nicely for me is I started to just turn towards that building here. Now, there's the runway right there, guys. You can see we're descending quickly. Now we want to start to chase this around here. We're going to bring in just a little bit of thrust.
500.
Okay. There's the displaced threshold. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right there. So we don't want to overcook this turn early or we're going to be in trouble. Alright. Need a little less thrust there. Our speed's looking pretty good. Now we need to start coming all the way over. We need to continue the descent but not too fast. And just a little trim here.
300.
There we go. Looking good. Look at that. Cut the thrust a little, so we're too high.
Sync rate. Sync rate.
Ooh.
Sync rate. Sync rate.
Nice. We're good.
50. 40. 30. 20.
Come on, baby. Drop.
10.
Oh, I floated it a little. Come on. Oh my gosh, that has to be the worst float in the history of floats. You know what I forgot to do, Joe?
No.
I forgot to turn on my recorder when I left the hold.
Oh, no, I didn't.
So we've got a flight recorder we're using to record the flights for the cinematics. And so I made a big deal to Joe. I said, don't forget to turn on that flight recorder before you leave the hold. And he remembered and I forgot. So that means I'm going to have to fly it again which is fine. It's not a big deal. I floated it bad, Joe. I floated like halfway down that runway. I was right on the edge of having to do a go around.
All right, I'm on the approach now.
Okay. I'm
And
off.
so
I'm
far
clear of
on
the runway.
profile.
Where are you at right now?
Approaching TZ013.
Okay. So
Far on profile, so we're looking good.
Joe will be making the turn. Yeah, I was good right till very like short final. It just floated on me, and as soon as I got down over the runway, even cutting the throttles, it just kept floating and floating, man. I didn't think it was gonna get down. It was a smooth landing, but I was definitely a little far on the touchdown markers there. And I still got the don't sink warning, even with all of those inhibits turned on. So, not really sure how to get rid of that don't sink warning.
Okay, passing 12 now. Gonna autopilot off, and it's gonna be my airplane.
Fantastic. I'm just taxiing back here. We should see Joe coming in here shortly, to be honest with you guys. But earlier when we were doing our practice, for some reason I couldn't see him, even though we are in a group in the sim. So if we don't see him, that'll be unfortunate, but it won't be the end of the world, because we'll have a nice cinematic of both of us landing. I don't usually go quiet for this long on my videos. Everybody knows I talk a lot. And I'm just kind of keeping pointed this way, guys, and see if we can see Joe come in here. Be nice if we do. I don't know why I couldn't see him last time. I saw him when we departed. I was able to see him at the other airfield. So unless for some reason like his elevation is like 200 feet off of mine or something, which would be really weird. But I couldn't see him at this airfield last time. Where are you at right now, Joe?
11.
So he should be making his turn to final, which means he should be right in this vicinity here. I don't see him. I don't get that. I don't understand why I can't see ya. Huh.
I have the field in sight.
Yeah. Alright, well, it is what it is, guys. I don't know why it's doing that, but I'm just going to stop here just in case we do see him making his final there. But I don't see anybody. I don't see an airplane.
Turn to
there he
final
is.
now.
I got him. Look, guys, he's coming right past the tower here. Nice. Alright, yeah, we got a visual on you, Joe. No pressure now. I'll have to refly the approach here in a little bit for the cinematic. So if my landing is better on the cinematic, you guys, than it was on my actual approach in the video here, it's because I did better when I recorded the cinematic. Okay, there's Joe coming in. Looking good. Look at how smooth that was. Joe's way better at this than I am. Oh, touchdown. Nice. Oh, it's got you in an Alaska air cargo plane. when we left, we flew out of an airport to get over here, you guys. And when we departed that airport, he was in a Southwest Airlines plane. And then when he landed just now, he was in that Alaska cargo plane. But since I recorded that, I'm going to have to, when I do the cinematic playback, I'm going to have to make sure he's in an Alaska cargo plane. But he's actually supposed to be in an American Airlines plane. Right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
So I have no idea why he keeps putting him in a different livery, but it does. Coughing in your face there, why not?
All right, clear the runway and clean her up.
Track IR is acting up. That's why I was trying to look up so I could see that. Look, it slopes down the hill here. Watch this. If I get it over the crest of this hill, it'll actually pick up speed, even with the throttles rolled all the way back. I couldn't see that yellow line. See, we're going down the hill now. Throttles at 0. Should pick up a little speed here. Yep, there's 4, 5. Yeah, that's one thing I really like with this new sim, is the fact that you know, if you go down a hill, you're actually going down a hill, right? Good stuff. Okay, track IR coming off here. Let's get that park and brake on. There we go. And ground power is not available. Let's request ground power because, well, APU will be faster. I was gonna say, oh, I didn't turn landing lights off. I was gonna say it might be faster to do ground power than an APU, but actually I think the APU will be quicker. The ground power, all the ground vehicles for PMDG move so slow, it's just crazy. So okay, I'll be back, Joe. Alrighty, folks, I was in the middle of getting things shut down, and I had to drop what I was doing and make a run for upstairs. I was keeping an eye on the little guy, and I thought I heard him choking. I think he was just gagging on something, actually, but you know, you think you hear your kid choking, you go for a run, right? So yeah, so Joe's gone already. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I want to finish this shutdown really fast. Nothing super fancy here. Excuse me, I've already got the APU running, so we'll put it, wow, that view's all kinds of crooked. We'll put it on the bus here. There we go, and that's going to let us shut down the engines. So we'll come back here, and yeah, we got to go to this view to do that. Shut down both the engines. Parking brakes are already set. Let me take a real quick look here. Start levers are cut off. Ground power, we're not going to turn that on. We're not going to do doors and stairs. Fuel pumps all need to go off. Actually, there's one thing I would like to do. We're going to do... Man, all my views are like crooked all of a sudden, too. Where do we want to go? Ground services, jetway inhibit. We want them to use the jetway. And so hopefully that'll let us connect it now. Oh, you guys hit the chocks first, right? Yeah. Still jetway inhibit. That's nice. Okay, I'm not going to mess with it. Jump back up here. Another crooked view. Electric hydraulic pumps off. Window heat can go off. Pitot heat can go off. Packs can stay on for now. We can put these to off. Should have done that after landing, right? APU is running. We're on the bus. What else? I think that's it, right? Signs, window heat, probe heat, electric hydraulics, all of that good stuff. Yep. Basically, other than actually shutting it all the way down, which we're not going to do, and that means that's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I did go ahead and put it on ground power, connected the jetway because I finally got it to work, all that good stuff. So, Joe and I were going to have a little chat afterwards, and, you know, that was kind of the idea here. But unfortunately, like I said, right after Joe landed, I heard what sounded like my son on the little monitor. It sounded like he choked on something. So I told Joe goodbye, ran up the stairs as fast as I could, got up there, and he's in there sucking on his pacifier and goofing off. So he must have gagged on something. But it did scare the bajonkers out of me. So Joe's not here anymore, obviously. Joe, you know, that was like almost an hour ago. So, you know, Joe had other things to do, and so I just got a chance to get back in here and finish things up. This was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun flying it with Joe. I know that Joe landed in a when we were watching him land. We watched him land in that Alaska Airlines cargo. I just couldn't do it. Alaska Airlines cargo is not flying down here. Trust me, they're not in Honduras. So So that's why you saw for the cinematics that I switched him to a Southwest livery. But overall, it was really fun. So I redid the landing just so that I could record the cinematics, and it ended up being pretty close to the same. I still floated it. It wasn't all that much different. So, you know, it is what it is, right? Not bad, though. I mean, let's be honest. It's not that bad. This is a really, really tough landing. So it was just a lot of fun to do that, and a lot of fun to do it with Joe. Joe and I have been friends a long time, and so I really appreciate Joe coming on here with me and doing this flight, doing these landings. And yeah, that's it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I want to get back to this series, these unusual, difficult, and dangerous approaches, and so I thought this would be a great way to get back into it. If somebody else out there maybe wants to try and do a flight with me, that'd be something I'd be willing to do, where we could link up on here and do you know, some type of difficult landing or something together like that. Maybe Joe can hop on with us or whatever. I do want to give a big shout out to everybody over at MacAir, all of the guys on the staff. You're doing an amazing job. I'm so grateful for everything that you guys do over there. I just couldn't possibly express it enough. And so if you get a chance, if you're not a member of MacAir and you're really looking for a complete flight sim experience with a virtual airline that's different than everything else that's out there, but still brings that sense of realism and community, let me tell you, MacAir is a great place to go. They got events going on all the time. We got all the different divisions. You only got to have one profile, so if you want to fly different divisions, you don't have to have separate profiles, all that stuff. So it's just a fantastic airline that we managed to put together, and the folks that are running it over there are just doing an amazing job. And so I'm super grateful for them. Drop a like down below, a thumbs up, and you know, maybe down in the comments if you would say thank you to the folks over at MacAir, whether you're a member or not. Just give them a big thank you for all that they do over there. They sure make it easier for me to focus on other things rather than running that airline, and I really appreciate that. If you like the video, like I said, give it a thumbs up. If you think that I earned it, go ahead and smash the subscribe button there. Click on the little bell to get notifications. You guys know the drill. And that's it. That's all and no more, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up, unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all, and have an absolutely wonderful day.